Good morning, children. Welcome back to your English online class. Online learning may be new and different for us, but it also allows us to learn in a supportive atmosphere in these times. Today, I will teach you a poem which is written by W.B. Yeats. Chapter 2. When you are old, brood over your past. Before you read the poem, let me introduce you the writer. W.B. Yeats was an Irish poet. Yeats started writing poetry when he was 17 and was heavily influenced by poets like P.B. Shelley and Edmund Spenser. The Wanderings of Ossian and Other Poems was Yeats' first collection of poems. Published in 1889, it instantly won him the reputation of a significant poet. His other major works are In the Seven Woods, Responsibilities and Other Poems, and The Winding Stair and Other Poems. When You Are Old is a comic adaptation of a poem of the same name by Yeats. The poem was first published in The Rose in 1893. In 1889, when Yeats published his first collection of poems, he also met a 23-year-old English heiress and Irish revolutionary, Maud Gonne, with whom the young poet instantly fell in love. Yeats' love for her is immortalized in many of his poems, including the one you are going to read now. Let's read the poem together. When you are old and grey and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace and loved your beauty with love false or true. But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you and loved the sorrows of your changing face, and bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face among a crowd of stars. So let us recite and understand the poem When You Are Old. Let's read stanza 1. When you are old and grey and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once and of their shadows deep. Here, the poet says to his beloved, when you grow old and your hair turn gray, and when you look sometimes near the fire sleepily, then you should pick up this book that I am writing and read this poem. This poem then would remind you how beautiful you once used it to be, and how soft and deep your eyes were when you were young. In this stanza, you can see some difficult phrases. Now, I will explain the meaning of these phrases. Nodding by the fire. What do you mean by nodding by the fire? It means dozing as she sits near the fire in lonely winter nights. Dream of. Dream of means think of the past youthful day is in a dreamy way. Soft looks your eyes had once. It means the poet's beloved now has soft looks. Her eyes have an enchant about them. They lent to her face a look of charm and sweetness, but they would not always remain so. In her old age, she would only remember these soft looks with regret. Next stanza. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love, false or true. But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. So here the poet says, you will then remember that many men then loved you because of your joyful beauty. They loved you for your beauty, some with a true love, others safely. But then you will also remember that one man loved your soul. Who is that one man? Yes, it's our poet, W.B. Yeats. So here the poet says, you will also remember that one man loved your soul and loved you for the sadness of your looks. So in this stanza, the difficult phrases are glad grace. It means during her youth, his beloved has a grace and beauty that arises out of the joy living. Let's move to stanza 3. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face among a crowd of stars. So, here, what the poet means to say is that then, as you bent down near the glowing fire in the grate, you will murmur to yourself that love has left you and has hidden itself far away in lofty mountains and in starry skies. Let me explain the difficult phrases of the third stanza. A bending down. It means his beloved in her old age would bend down. Next, the glowing bars. The iron bars in the fireplace are glowing hot because of the fire burning in it. And bending love fled. The poet imagines that in her old age, his beloved would feel that love has left the world and lives now in the stars and mountains. In other words, she will feel the loneliness of old age when all lovers will forsake her. The other phrase is paced upon. It means walked upon and paced overhead. Love no longer lives on earth but upon lofty mountain peaks. So let's move to the detailed summary. I will sum up the entire poem. Listen carefully. In this poem, addressing Maud Gone, the poet says that when she is old, she would take up this book of Yeats' poems and read it slowly. He asks her to compare her old age with the time of her youth. Feeling sleepy and nodding by the fireside, she can compare her grey hair with the softness of look and deep shadows that her eyes had in the prime of her life. In brief, the poet wants Gone to have a feel of the terror that old age produces. Full of sleep. Here, sleep can be explained as usual time of sleep as well as the natural laziness or lethargy that comes in a human being as he or she grows old. In the second stanza, the poet further asks Maud Gone to recollect as to how many people loved her when she was young and beautiful, and not all of them had true love for her beauty, even. Quite a few of them just pretended love to her falsely. But there was one man only who loved not her physical beauty alone but also the purity of her soul behind her beautiful shape. His love was purely spiritual, and she must remember that he loved the pains of her growing old. It also means that he loves her even now when she is old and is prepared to share with her the sorrows of her age. The speaker says to Morgan that when she lies down on the bed, bending a bit toward the fireside, where the iron rods outside the fire chimney are glowing red with the heat of fire, she must say to herself in a sort of sad of that With the departure of her youth and charms, the false love of her lovers had also vanished away and evaporated in the mist of high mountains and stars. By saying this, the speaker also intends saying that in comparison to her false lovers, he was the only true lover who had loved her all through from youth to old age, and he loves her even now. I hope you understood the poem when you're old. Take care, be good, and spread happiness. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.